Let's roll on to our next team, and it is the Chicago Stars. No, I did not misspeak. It is not the Chicago Red Stars anymore. Name change, the Chicago Stars. They finished 2024 in 8th place on 32 points in NWSL. They lost the opening playoff round to Orlando 4-1. They won one of their final 6 matches in 2024. In the offseason, they've brought in Matian from Gotham, Manaka Hayashi, the Japanese U20 captain, and a U18 signing in Michaela Johnson. On the way out, Tatum Malazzo has left to go to Utah. Julia Bianchi, Maxi Rawl have both left NWSL, and the loan of Rosella Ayane has ended. Other news outside of the field of play. Right now, Mel Swanson has not reported for preseason as of recording this. We do not know what her status will be for the start of the season. And then Sam Staub, of course, we thought would miss the year with an Achilles injury, but maybe there is hope she'll be available. And then right before recording this, Natalia Kuika suffered a knee injury with the Finnish national team. They are saying it is not a torn ACL, but they are not exactly sure when she will be available. Jordan, over to you.
Yeah, that's not a good last few lines there, Goss, when you're talking about how this Chicago team wants to play. I think under Lauren Donaldson, they want to be hard to beat defensively, right? Compact, make them hard to break down. But the difficult thing was they weren't that in 2024. They had some holes in the way that they played defensively, and they gave up a lot of goals. And then they want to go in transition, use Mal Swanson, and now use some of their other really key stars up front too. Why am I blanking on the Brazilian's name? Ludmilla. Use them in transition. But for Chicago, they've added some pieces in the later half. Julia Grosso, now you're bringing in a Japanese international, which can help you play a little bit more through the midfield and have some more of the ball. But they have to be harder to break down if this is going to be their main tactical way to set up, Jill. And in 2024, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I am very worried about this Chicago team. Last year, they overachieved. They outright overachieved for what we expected from the Chicago team. They made it. They squeaked into the playoffs. But this is a team that only got 2 points off of the top 5 teams in the league. Everybody else they beat were cellar dwellers, and that's how they propelled themselves into the playoffs. I think the biggest question going into this season is how much, if any, and at what capacity is Mal Swanson able to play for this team and contribute to this team. We saw the first iteration of Chicago without Mal Swanson a couple years ago. It was a defensive train wreck, mainly because they needed to create some more attacking production through every other player on the team. Their best players were defensive players. They needed to get higher up to produce something into the attack. That left them so vulnerable defensively. They gave up the most goals, I think, in history of the franchise. And then this year, without Staub starting in the center back position, that was a massive hole for them last year. Kuika is now, they did pick up Maitane, but Kara Recaro filled in at center back last year. That was not the solution. This roster is certainly skinny in the defensive line. So I think Alyssa Nair is going to be really busy this year.
Yeah, the thing that I think of when I look at this Chicago team is everybody's going to have to outplay themselves. Everybody's going to have to raise their game, because I think what we've seen with Mal Swanson, and very much like in Portland with Sophia Smith, I think now Sophia Wilson, is that this team looks very different, like almost incredibly different when you don't have those two strikers playing in any given game. And so it feels like if it's unknown right now when Mallory Swanson is going to return, then everybody's just going to have to be raising their game. It's going to have to be a complete team effort. And Jordan and Jill, as you mentioned, defensively, it's going to have to start with that. But that means everybody is behind the ball. You're scrapping. And so those are my question marks. Is this team going to be up for that? Because you still have a lot of young players as well. If Kuika's out, that's another veteran player, Sam Staub. So you have a lot of young players, first or second year, that are having to step up and play a veteran role, and you're having to do that with every single player on this team, because there isn't somebody that's going to have that potential individual brilliance that we've seen just yet that can carry this team right now. So that's my concern as well. Time will tell, but
yeah, I would have liked to see them get somebody that helped them in the creation. Like, they have very up front, they have players that can stretch you, right? With Ludmila and Swanson. But can they have gotten a forward who allows them to have a little bit more target play? I think would have been more helpful. But when I'm looking at this back line, I do think there is hope. Hannah Anderson, I like her youthfulness. I think she's going to grow into a really good center back. It's going to help her to have Maitane next to her. But still, is the speed there? Because you got to have speed in the center back position if you're going to succeed in NWSL. It's going to be difficult for Chicago. I felt like they kind of waited too long in the offseason to make any big moves, and still we haven't seen anything that I think gets us on the edge of our seats for what they can do in this next season.
Yeah, the one thing I'll just add is this feels like it's been an interesting offseason because we've seen teams that needed to make moves that haven't, where typically the draft would help them because they're automatically going to get players. Yeah. And now this is the first time that we're really seeing obviously we don't know the back end or the behind the scenes, but what are teams capable of? What is their structure set up to be able to go out and get these players that we think that they need to help them push along, right? So what does the recruiting system look like behind the scenes? I think all of these questions are going to be highlighted this year, and whether or not individual organizations are in a place to really be able to put their best foot forward to be able to go out and get these players or not, right? They're just stuck in terms of being able to make it on a daily basis, really, is the best way to put it.
I will say for Chicago, a little unfortunate probably in that Ludmila and Julia Grosso were probably this offseason signings in theory to add to what was there last year. And now they've lost so much that they haven't been able to replace, which means that David, you are running behind. It is time to move on. I was able to buzz myself on that one, and I couldn't not take the opportunity to speak from the future to my soul.